Hi guys, welcome back. Okay, so I have not shared a video on LKCO for a while now. Those of you who have been following me, you know that I gave a very bullish price target on LKCO. Those of us in the Discord, you know that we started to buy this at 67 cents. And after that, it just kept going up every day until the new share release gave it a big correction and then the hard correction of growth and tech stocks overall, plus a lot of brokers forcing investors to sell out their position, and then the Xiaomi court case plus the extension of the deadline from March to May gave it another jump, and then with further market correction and Chinese stocks getting hammered, it just went down further. And now, because it's getting close to the court date, a lot of the fear had been building up. Maybe not fear, because fear is for something that's unexpected, but this is somewhat expected. We knew this since the beginning when we first invested in this stock. So I should say it's more like anxiety that's going on, especially seeing the US and China relationship getting tense while we see the price getting little bit down every day, almost every single day. So I see investors' level of anxiety slowly building up day by day. So lately I've gotten a lot of comments and questions in the Discord asking me to make a video update on LKCO. I saw some comments saying that I have lost faith in LKCO and I have sold all my position, speculating all kind of things. So first of all, I need to state very clearly that I did not sell out my LKCO position, and basically nothing has changed since my very first video on LKCO. If you happen to watch all my videos since the beginning about LKCO, you can tell that nothing has changed the way I look at it. So this is my very first video on LKCO. I said it is the best penny stock for me because I see the massive potential of it. Meanwhile, I have stressed it many times that it is risky because it's one of the stocks that's been blacklisted by the US Defense Department by the President Trump as his last act in the House. And I also showed that they have a poor balance sheet from last year, 2020. So I said you have to be aware of this and invest in what you can afford to lose because it's still a penny stock. And during those days, the stock just kept going up, and I also made another video later to remind people the risk and reward of this investment. So you need to be very clear whether you're investing for a long term or short term. And I said that if it's for short term, I think it's good profit already as a short term trade, because within those days, LKCO had a great run up, as you see, and I drew out the scenario. At that time it was $1.59, and I drew out the scenario that it can easily drop 20 to 50% from this point because of the blacklisting issue or share dilution. So that's why you need to be very clear whether this is a long-term investment or short-term investment. And as a short-term trade, you should have at least 60 to 137% of profit from that point. So I said it would be a very good short-term trade already, and you can take profit anytime. Because if you bought it after seeing my video, you should be 60% plus. And if you bought it with me from the Discord, you should be up 137%. So that's why it's very important to know whether you wanted to invest in this for the long term or short term. For short term, you could take profit. For long term, you need to be aware how volatile this stock is, and it could drop a huge amount anytime. At the time of the video, the share price was 1.59, and for this price to drop 50%, it would mean it can drop as low as 79 cents. So I have prepared everyone that it can drop back to as low as 79 cents. And if we look at the chart, we should remember on this day, it dropped as low as 72 cents. And the next day it got pulled up. But before that, it was dipping as low as the bottom of 69 cents. So it's really not too far from the warning I gave at first. And yet, when people say it keep dropping, then suddenly we see all of these comments saying that I'm pump and dump, I work for LKCO, I'm getting paid from them, I never bothered, and so on and so on. So I have a very mixed feeling over LKCO. In a way, this almost makes me regret sharing this on my channel because it really gave me a lot of stress for these few months. A lot of people ask me, when is LKCO exploding? Then I need to go back to my first statement of how important it is to differentiate your long-term investment and short-term trade. Like I said, as a short-term trade, it was very nice profit. You could take profit anytime. But if you want to keep it for a long term, then don't treat it as a short-term investment. Don't mix the two up. And this is why I said invest what you can afford to lose. So then your mindset is at ease. Otherwise, there is no way you can hold a stock like this. It is volatile. It is risky. It has a lot of uncertainties. The company did not give out news like a lot of the US companies that gives out news every single day almost, or at least every few days. No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, the company has stopped giving out quarter earning since June last year. So we have no clue about their 2 quarters of the last year. So we have no idea how they performed over the 2 quarters in the past. No news about the earning at all. On top of that, it's blacklisted by the US Defense Department and a small cap, a penny stock. So since the beginning, I have stressed many times that you have to invest what you can afford to lose so you don't lose your mind over it. Because if this is too vital to you, you can't take it. You can't take the stress. With such volatile movement, and institutions know exactly how retail investors think and when they would lose it. I said this is a win big or lose everything deal. I'm not saying we would for sure lose everything, even if it doesn't win the court case. No one says we will lose everything, but all I'm saying is you have to consider it gone. You have to evaluate the risk so you are psychologically prepared for it. It's not easy to invest in such volatile stocks. That is such a roller coaster. So yeah, it's not easy to invest in a super volatile stocks. It does a lot to your mind and it's not easy. I think the stock market, it's a lot on the mind game. It's a lot on managing your emotion and controlling your anxiety and be able to make decisions. Being calm. I can handle it myself personally, but I think this is really not for everybody because literally I have seen people's mindset from this is the best stock ever, LKCO to the moon, to diamond hands holding strong, and then to here when it's dropping to the bottom. It's a scam, it's a pump and dump. And then here, some rebound. Okay, maybe still some hope. And here, don't touch Chinese stocks because of the news about Chinese stocks. And then at this point, right now, it's in between, okay, there's no hope, or it's a pure gamble because it's 100% based on how the hearing goes on May 3rd. So you see, this is a big change of emotion, a big roller coaster, and this is how much the share price action movement can change significantly how people look at the company. And the crazy thing is, did the company change that much the fundamentals during this few months? Not even. The only changes are probably the only good things. First of all, we have seen them raising more funds. So right now they should have a healthier balance sheet. Second of all, they have successfully acquired Imago 100%, erasing a big concern of mine previously. And third of all, they have more contracts within this few months. Maybe something they haven't even disclosed yet. So yeah, within this few months, nothing fundamental has changed, no damage to the company. We only hear good things about it, but because of the share price movement, people are losing faith in the company and thinking it's a scam and pump and dump just based on the price action. I admit that it's very easy to have anxiety when you see the share price dropping little by little. And the reason was because people did not invest what they can afford to lose. That's why the share price movement would be building too much anxiety into changing the way they look at the company. I can handle this myself personally, but I think this is really not for everyone. And so far, this is my way of investing for different kind of companies. Like for example, that was when I first invested in Luokung when it was $3 something. And because back then I already took some nice profit from the recovery stocks, so I thought I would put a few $1,000s there because things back then were very much not clear. They had a schedule of the hearing with NASDAQ to try to stay listed. So I thought I'm just using part of my profit. I'll put a few thousand there to see if I lose it, then it's not too much to lose. But if things work out right, then I would have huge profit because of my analysis back then about the company's fundamental. Business was going strong still, even though there was the pandemic, and customers were lining up outside the store on the day they admitted fraud. After that, they kept dropping and I bought the dip twice. And then one day they decided to give up on the hearing to NASDAQ and they got delisted. And nobody knew what would happen after that. So a lot of panic sale going on. Everyone thought they would lose all their shares. And the share price dropped to 95 cents. Now you look back, you feel like there's nothing to be panicked about because it would just go to OTC, right? It would be okay, it's still tradable, and it bounced back up right after, right? So easy, right? But back then, at that moment, it was not easy at all. But because since the beginning, I invested my profit. And when I invested in this, I told myself I need to consider this amount of money gone. So then the whole time I could stay not panicking. That was how I held through and did not panic. And then later on decided to average down. Because again, I took more profit from other stocks so I could invest more into this high risk, more speculative play because remember, the whole time during those few months, there was near zero news for Luckin Coffee for a really, really long period of time. Even after the run up in October, there was still no news other than many reminders of the deadline of filing class action against Luckin Coffee and the Chinese government giving them a big fine for committing fraud. And that was it basically. After the big run up, I just saw it falling and falling, rising and falling again, and in the end breaking the support, looking like it's going back down to $2 from 6 to 2, right? And remember, there was no news and nothing has changed the company's fundamental. But it's very easy to build anxiety when the stock movement is like this. Dropping a little bit every day and then in the end give you a final shake of 10%. At this point, it's very easy to lose faith on the company while nothing fundamental has changed since you have invested in it. And at that time, I took more profit from other stocks, so I had decided to put more money into Luckin to double my position. Again, because while I gain more profit within those few months, it would increase my risk tolerance. And as long as I'm okay with losing this amount of money, then I'm okay to ride this roller coaster without losing myself. But recently, maybe because Luckin had been falling a little bit, so I see some people asking me whether I have sold my position on Luckin already. So that's how I manage my emotion when I invest in this kind of company. When it's speculative, when there's no news from the company much and no one is constantly patting my shoulders. And I don't recall any YouTubers back then talking and recommending Luckin, other than talking bad about it, telling people to stay away from it, adding more fear on Luckin than it already had. I think a lot of people would give up here or here when it dropped back to 3.6. I remember at that time it was also very difficult to think straight, but I thought the company was worth 900 million, but they have thousands of stores and quite a brand exposure for Chinese consumers, and I think that's quite valuable on its own. Also, I read that the founders have lost their shares during the big fall because they had mortgaged their shares, and the bank were forced to sell out of all the shares. all at once, and that was the big cause of the big fall. So I thought it was a lot of work to build a brand like this, and there was quite some achievement there. So I asked myself, if I were the founder, what would I do? And I thought I would find a way to buy back some shares myself, because I'm sure they have made a lot of efforts when they built this company. So that was the bottom line for me. So that's why I thought the valuation would not sustain. So that's how I would play on this kind of high risk speculative investment when I have real faith in the company. And I have done my research and analysis on it, and I decided to go for it, then I should not change how I feel about the company based on the price action, right? So my way to play it is to use the money I can afford to lose, and it's from the profit I recently gained, something I can forget about or consider it gone, so I can stay calm, because it's really not easy to hold your emotion calm with such a roller coaster. It's a lot of bumps, and sometimes with no news or just bad news. And because recently the share price had been dropping, so a lot of people ask me whether I sold my lock-in position again. So here I can show you that I still have my lock-in position. In the end, I invested around 50,000 US dollars in this investment, because at that time I had taken some nice profit for maybe 200,000 at that time. So I thought I just forget about this part of the profit and consider this gone. So even though this investment failed and all my investment go to zero, I'm still okay with it. It's not the end of the world. But I'm using this part of the profit that I could afford to lose as a chance to earn something much bigger in the future. Then I think the risk reward for me, it's okay. So now we go back to LKCO. It's not because I don't want to show it, it's just because I told you before I have many accounts, so sometimes it's even hard to manage it, because if every time I make a video and I have to log into every account to take a screenshot, that might be too time consuming for me, because some of the accounts I don't even log into it usually on a daily basis unless I need to change my portfolio. Especially on a down day, I don't want to keep looking at it and affect my emotion and make a decision that I might regret later. So sometimes I don't even look into them. But as you see that overall, I still have a large position. I have over 100,000 shares of LKCO still, even after I trimmed some back then. So why did I trim some in the first place? And the answer is very simple. It's because my profit got less, so that's why I'm willing to lose less than before. Back then, I had even heavier position on LKCO because I had quite a large amount of profit. At the peak of February, all my accounts together were making roughly, I think, the profit of over $1 million, and I mean Canadian dollars, which would be 20% less than US dollar. Let me show you the screen cap I took back in February, because sometimes if my account make a new high, I would take a screenshot to make sure I remember that and I can get back to the high at some point when it drops. So the unrealized gain was 614,000 Canadian dollars, and that was after I took profit from many stocks already. See, the combined total was 887,000 versus my original investment of $126,000. So that was about 6 times my original investment, 500% of gain. Just this main account profit was 760,000. And last time I showed you my short-term account where I do more short-term trading. That was growing from the original of 20-something thousand into 250,000 at the peak. So just these two accounts combined, it's already $1 million profit. So back then, at that scenario, I would be willing to lose $200,000 on LKCO if it did not succeed. And as I showed you last time with the PGJ China ETF, that it was during December last year that I decided to go heavy on Chinese stocks, and my portfolio had doubled in 2 months, and now it has wiped off the profit for 2 months. For the whole time it's gone. Okay, so that means I have lost my $500,000 of profits. So now I would have a lower risk tolerance than before. It's very simple to understand. So now I am willing to lose 100,000 on LKCO, and it is simple as that. Remember, I'm not saying you will for sure lose your money 100% on LKCO. I'm just saying that when you invest in this kind of companies, when we don't have enough certainties at this moment, this is something you need to deal with by asking yourself this question. How much are you willing to lose? Because I remember someone said it as investment 101. Before you make an investment, you need to ask yourself how much you are willing to lose. And that would usually respond to how much you want to gain. The more you want to gain, the more you need to consider how much you're willing to lose, your risk tolerance. Because I really think the stock market is more than 50% psychology. At the end of the day, it's really a big mind game. If you are investing with something vital, then you would be putting yourself in a desperate position. That is also why I also needed to deleverage my account. I'm working on that because I don't want to be put in a desperate position one day. But speaking of 100,000 shares, it's really a big position already. When you look at the institutional ownership of LKCO, you can see the recent purchase, right? And you can see the institutions buying 67,000 shares, 17,000 shares, 68 something thousand shares. And I was thinking, my holding is bigger than the institution. Maybe I should be filing an SEC document reporting this. I'm just kidding. So yeah, when I add or trim a stock, sometimes it's because of my personal management of my portfolio. Just the fact that I trim does not mean I stop believing in this company. And it doesn't mean you need to sell or buy based on what I do. I'm just here to share what my move is. So that's why you need to first do this to manage your emotion, to decide whether you are doing it long term or short term. Now I will share what I think about the court hearing coming up and more fundamental of the company in my next video. Okay, now if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a big like and write me a great comment, and I'll see you tomorrow. That's it guys, hope you can find my videos helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me a big like. Thank you.